Hello and welcome to Stampin' and Crafting with Cheryl Diana. I'm Cheryl Diana and today I'm going to continue showing you how to colour in a stamped image using different colouring techniques. Today I'm going to be using the Stampin' Right markers and the Stampin' blends. So let's go and have a look at how we do this. So I'm going to be using the Darling Dino's stamp set again, but you can use any stamp set that has got an outline image on it, so you can colour it in. So it could be flowers, it could be other animals, whatever you've got. Excuse me. So I've pre-stamped my images. I've used black memento ink, which is ideal because we are using blends, but also if you're very careful you can get away with using it with your Stampin' Right markers. So first I'm going to colour in using Stampin' Right markers. So these are the same colours that I did last time. I've got my little ones to remind me how I coloured them in, because I'm going to try and get all 5 techniques in the same colour palette. So let's start with our little long necked one. So our Stampin' Right markers, they come with a bullet end and a brush end. So let's colour him in. Now, as it's quite a big area, I think this might be a bit too dark for him. It doesn't matter. I might have to restamp him, see how that goes. So it's just little strokes. And remember, you can fill in any of those thin bits with your bullet end. And I'm doing it gently, so I'm not pushing the tip of the brush down. Now I've got to be really careful, because last time it was this little guy, when I was colouring it, when I put him up here, he ended up having the duck head that is the StreamYard logo, which looked really, really funny. So just, in fact, that's not looking too bad now. You can still see the black bits. And obviously this technique, you've got more control over it than we did with the water painter. So I'm just going to do these down here. So today it's a little bit cloudy here, and I'm pre-recording this because I will be away and I'm due to go live. But I wanted to carry on with our colouring products or techniques. So that's those done. And just finish off around here. Like so. And that. And just put that. Like so. And I'm just going to touch in the ends. This little bit here needs a little bit. Just a bit so I can see the white. So we just touch it up a little bit. There we go. There we are. Then I'm going to colour in, do all the gorgeous grapes. Now I'm going to struggle trying to colour in this bit here, which was lighter. So I'm going to leave that white, because with the Stampin' Right markers, you just get the shade of the, and and just the whole shade, so it doesn't matter whether you do it lightly or you press hard, it will be the same shade. So that's that one done, and then let's do Daffodil Delight. Now I'm going to use the bullet end because these are not a big area. So just colour that in there. Now these all come in a pack for the whole colour family. So most, in fact, all of these are the brights colours, apart from Gorgeous Grape, which is a regal colour. So let's just finish colouring this in. Like so. And we did his claws, or toenails as they call them, in yellow. So that is him done. Now let's do some pumpkin pie. So I'm going to colour in his frill using the brush end because it's a big area. And I don't need to wait for the colour next to it to dry because it's not liquid ink or water, so got more control over where the colour goes. So I'm just doing strokes. I find these are good for small areas. Like so. And then this little guy had an orange tummy. We decided, didn't we? Last time. There we go. And this one has got yellow toenails. Right, and this one was Calypso Coral. It's a big area, so I'm going to colour in using the brush end again. Now the colours are a lot more nearer the cardstock than that. So it's good if you want to match it in your cardstock or your papers. So where these were quite subtle before, they're a lot more bolder and in your face more. I'm going to use the bullet pointer on those. Let's just do this. And with these, do sometimes get to see your brush strokes when it's a wider area. I'm just going to do a shade, but you can add in a bit of shade in there. If it's a bit on his tummy, it's going to be the shade. A bit there and a bit there. I'm just going to fill in the bits that I didn't do with the bullet end. And you see, this is a lot quicker than the ink pad way with the water painter, and slightly quicker than the one with the watercolor pencils and the water painter. So we can do the dots in Mellow Mambo, and I'm going to use my bullet end because it's small, and you can see show you at the end how when we did last week's. So that is with the, that's very similar to the ink pad with the water, but the pencils, it's a lot lighter. So small watercolour. No, that's my watercolour. Yeah. Okay. And now let's do this gorgeous little guy. So I'm going to do his toenails or claws. So it's a bullet end again because it gives me more control. And up here. And then here. This one here. That's all that. I noticed I did his spots orange. So a big nose in there. Like so. And then we're going to use I used Granny Apple Green yesterday or last week. So let's colour his body in with that. I missed a couple of spots on his head. So just colour that in, and it is a lot darker than our pencils were. I like how you can get different shades using different media or different colouring products. That. You can obviously take more time at doing this colouring in. I'm actually going to do the hands with the bullet end. Just do, because this one I've used more, so the tip of the brush is a little bit more a bendy. And here. And then up here. Right, let's do the bullet end then. So and let's just do little hands, and you see how much easier the bullet end is to use for these. Just touching up those little white bits that are showing through. And then let's just finish off with the colouring the two dots, or the two splodges, spots at the top, and do his little claws. Do very gently because they're really small claws. There we go. So that's these coloured in using the right markers. And next, I think, apart from the watercolour and the blender pen, these are probably my favourite to colour in. And this is the blends. So we get a light and a dark in each of our colours. And then you have a bullet end. You see that? and then the brushed end. Okay, so let's colour these guys in. Now, these don't go through all the other mediums, but the ink and the water and the watercolour pencils and that don't go through. Your blends will go through the card. So it's ideal that you either die cut them out or you fussy cut them, but you mount them on to another piece of card. So let's start with, set some up and compile using colour order. Okay, so I've had to change some of the colours because Gorgeous Grape doesn't come in blends, but I think 1, 2, 3, 4, the others do. So I'm using Blackberry Bliss instead of the purple, the Gorgeous Grape. So let's start with this little guy. So what I'm going to do is, and you can colour different ways, but what I do is I go over the line in the dark one, just to highlight it a bit more, and then I colour in. You can either use the brush end or the bullet end, and I tend to use the bullet end. And what I like about these is they are alcohol pens, so they dry really quickly, and I can layer it up so I get different tones depending on how often I go over them. So I leave like that, but then I want to make, so we can, I don't know if you can see, I'll bring this up, we can see where the dark is, and then that's a light, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour this bit in a little bit more, so we get a little bit more of a shade on it, and we blend it in that dark. So let's make that a little bit darker again. There we go. So you can now see when I lift it up, I've got different layers on it now. And I might just do a little bit more there. There we go. And what else was orange? His tummy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do light on his tummy. And then I'm going to do dark on the about halfway down. I think it's going to look a little bit like that. There we go. And then go over it again with the light, just to blend it all in. And then I'm going to do different coloured. So I'm going to colour them all one colour. So if you wanted to just use one colour, blend, you would then let it dry a bit and then go over in again to get different tones. So all the orange I want to do, yeah. So let's do this little guy again. So I'm going to use the light one. Let's just see, because it's still quite dark. We'll do that bit there, that bit there, that bit there. And I'm going to go really dark now with the other lines. So where we went lighter, I'm going to go darker now. There we go. I might go dark, I might go even more darker. That's it, that shows up better. So you can see how his horns are now going light to dark. So let's do his, I haven't done all the purple, I'll colour this guy in. Now, I'm going to do the outline, the lines that go on his middle like that, a little bit higher there, and then I'm going to do his mouth. So he's going to have a smiley mouth, and then I'm going to go, and I'm just going to colour him in now. So let's just colour him in, going over the other one. As I said last time, we do not know the true colour, the true colours of a dinosaur, because obviously there's only bones they find and not the skin and that. So you can do your dinosaurs whatever colour you want. Like so. So if you want to see how I did the other dinosaurs, just pop back and look at the video before this one. Like so. This colour down here. There we go, across there. I'll make it a little bit more in depth, so let's put this, let's make this just a little bit more shadow in his tummy. Just a bit more here, and then I think that's enough I'm going to do for him. So my purple done. Now, Daffodil Delight. Again, I'm going to go over these in one colour. And this is probably a good one to show you the different layers building it up. So then I'm going to go this one a bit darker. This one's going to be darker. Okay. And then let's do these darker again. If I hold it up, you should hopefully be able to see, focus on that, there are slightly different shades, and obviously I can get them darker each layer I put on. So now I want to do this little guy, and I'm going to do their toes using the dark marker. Right, and then use this one here. Now you could spend hours building up all of the layers. So just checking I've got everything. Actually, I need this colour. So I'll just check that this is the light. It's a dark one. It's a dark one. No, that's light. Those there they look very similar. So you can always find out by looking on the side. So let's colour this guy in. So hang on, I want to do the darker bit first. So I want to do this bit, his mouth, And then this bit here, this bit here, and this leg here, and a bit down here. There we go. So then we just colour it in like this. And if I show you the back, you can see how the inks come through. And we just, the bits up here I'm going to do by dots. It's quite small. And just colour this down here. This one here. I'm trying to go in the flow of where the legs are. Okay, so we've got a little bit of shading here. Let's just add. Just make those bits a bit darker. There we go. Just debating whether I'll just try and do this bit here. I'll blend it in a bit. So that's that. And then I did my favourite colour, Melon Mambo. So let's do. There we go. Now, they also do a colour lifter. So let's see what happens when we do some of this. I'm thinking I'm going to take it away from around his eyes. There. You can see how it's just, can you see there? I might have to do it a bit more. Can you see that? You can just see his eyes. And they're showing. So let's do it around this guy. Get his eyes showing. There you go. That one shows better. And you're just lifting the colour off. So let's just do these horns. So I'm going to do a mixture of dark. Then we'll do dark tips and then light. And I'm just dotting it because it's easier to colour. And we do that one and that one. Whoops, and over on that. And then let's go over with the lighter one. So we've just got a little bit of light on that bottom bit. And then finally, we're going to colour him in. So again, I'm going to do a bit of dark under the arm. This bit's going to be darker. That's where the shade is. That bit's going to be a little bit, and a bit under here. There we go, and a little bit here. I'm going to go over with the light. I'm just going around it and colouring it. I'm doing this quicker for you. As I said, you could spend as long as you want just building up the different layers. of colour. I've got the rest of his face, his head. Now this light green, I think it's a little bit too light. So I'm going to make it a little bit darker. We're going over it again. So let's just finish this bit off here. Okay, and then let's go over him again. Let's go over his head again. It does dry slightly lighter as well. You can see, and you get very little stroke marks. I'm showing, as we did with the right markers. Just gonna come down here now. This is the last bit. So there we have our 3 coloured in using the Stampin' Right markers, and the 3 coloured in using the blends. So what I'd like to know is which one is your favourite. So we've got the that's the right one. I'm trying to remember that one, and that one is the and then that's the water. That is the blending brush. Is that blending brush? No. So there we have our 5 ways of colouring them in. So as you can see, the watercolour pencils with water and with the blending brush gives you a much lighter shade, and the right markers and the blends give you a darker shade. So let me know which is your favourite choice of colouring for these, and just pop it in the comments. So I know this is a short video, but next week I will be using these to make up some children's cards. So until next time, keep stamping and crafting. Bye.